All right, let's get practicing in QuickBooks Online. Grab the link below so that you can follow along. All right, here we are in the QBO Gym, and the QBO Gym is a place where we have numerous exercises that help simulate real-life scenarios that you may encounter as a bookkeeper. Every single month, we come out with a new set of exercises for you to practice and complete, and we break it down for you into 4 different sections. So today we are going to be working in September's warm-up section. At the top here is a little video that talks about what you as the bookkeeper will be doing for Craig that month. He is our fictitious business owner. Further down is a quiz that relates to the video that you just watched. And then all the way at the bottom, we have our exercises within this section. So today we are going to be practicing deposits, payments, and withdrawals. We are going to be working in the sample company. This is where we always work. If you are not sure how to get into the sample company or get your own free QBOA account, just go ahead and click on the link below. So our scenario today is that 3 checks have come in that you'll need to process. Craig took one of them to the bank, and while he was there, he withdrew $400 in cash. The other 2 he deposited via his mobile app. In order to do this exercise, we are going to need a list of his checks and the bank deposit receipt, which we can download underneath the animated video in the gym. So let's go back and do that first. If you scroll up to the top here, here's that animated video in the gym. And then here is the button that we need, the check deposit info. Go ahead and click on that. And you can download it and see the bank deposit, what was the mobile deposit, and then also the check. So let's start with Freeman Sporting Goods. The first check is from Freeman Sporting Goods, and it's for $562.50. Craig indicated he deposited it this morning in the bank. So let's see how to do this. So first we need to click on the plus new button and then select receive payment. So here I am in the sample company. This is the dashboard. At the top here, that plus new button, and then under customers, select receive payment. And this screen will appear for you. Step 2 here, the check that came in from Freeman Sporting Goods came in, but you're not sure about the location yet because there are multiple locations for this customer. In the memo field of the check, though, it indicates a couple of different invoice numbers. So if we click into here and we see down here in the memo, it says for invoice 1028 and 1036. So they're saying that it's for those 2 invoices. So in the customer field, we're going to scroll down and select the location, this 969 Ocean View Road. So if you click into the customer here, scroll down, as you can see, there's 3 different locations here for Freeman Sporting Goods. We're going to try out this one and see what comes up. As you can see here, there is only 1 invoice, and that check in the memo, it said that it was for 2 different invoices. You will also know that the amount here is not correct. This says for $477.50, and the check was $562.50. So you know that it's not the correct amount. And it may be tempting to enter the entire amount in the amount field or amount received field, and create a credit memo, which you could apply to another invoice. But there is a problem with that. So let's take a closer look. We're going to go ahead and exit out of this by clicking on the X and then select yes to leave without saving. So click on the X here on the top right corner, and it's asking you, do you want to leave without saving? Click on the green yes button. Let's take a look at Freeman Sporting Goods parent company. To get there, on the left nav bar, we click on sales and then select customers. So if you just hover over the sales on this side, and then under here, you'll see customers, click on that. And then we're going to scroll down until we find Freeman Sporting Goods, which is right here. Go ahead and click on this parent company, this location. And you will see all of the activity for this customer appear. We want to narrow it down though to just the open invoices. So to do this, under type, we're going to select invoices, and then under status, we're going to select open. So here under type, if you have any pop-ups, go ahead and click out of those. Under type here, click on the arrow, and then you're going to select invoices. And then we only want to see the ones that are open. So click on that. And you will see 3 different open invoices that are showing here. 2 of those are for the Twin Lane location, and then 1 is for the Ocean View Road location. The total for these invoices is showing as $612.50, but that's still not the right amount for the check. However, this number reflects the total of the invoices, not the actual balances that are still owed on the invoices. So if you look carefully, you'll see on invoice 1005 that it only has $4 still due to it. The correct total is reflected in the open balance section of the summary at the top. So we'll see right here, this invoice, that 1005, it's partially paid and it only has $4 left on it. The open balance is this $562.50, which actually happens to be the amount for the check that they had sent us. And even though that invoice 1005 is not specified on the memo line, it's pretty reasonable to assume that the $4 on the check is to cover the remaining balance of that invoice. You can always check with the customer just to be sure. So now we have one check for 3 different invoices for 2 different locations. Can we receive payment on all of them at once? Not currently. If we had put in the full amount on that Ocean View Road location, QBO would have created a credit, but the credit would have been for that location only. Since we have 2 locations, that's just not going to work. If, however, the 2 locations had bill with parent checked in their profile, then QBO would roll the invoices up to the parent location and then you could select them all together. For more information on this, you can, and practicing this bill with parent setting, check out the July issue of the QBO Gym. I'm going to post a link up here on the top right corner for you to go to if you would like. Come back to this one, or you can check that one out later. Okay, so since this is not currently turned on for sublocations, QBO is not going to group them together. So we will have to mark them paid separately since that bill with parent is not turned on. Okay, so in the Ocean View Road, we're going to do that one first. We're going to click on Receive Payments. So here's the Ocean View Road location. Click on the blue Receive Payment link, and you will see this come up. And there is that one invoice right there. That was the one that we saw earlier. We're going to go ahead and fill it out by putting the payment method as check. So let's change the payment method here. Click on the arrow and then click on check. The reference number field is going to be the check number, which is 1008. You can always come back and look at here, 1008. So we'll type that in there. We are going to leave it as a deposit to the undeposited funds, and that is because this transaction is only one part of the deposit that he made. So we're just going to leave it as undeposited funds for the moment, and that is this field right here. And then in the grid, we're going to have the one transaction, the one invoice. We're going to make sure that that check box is checked, which it is because QBO is automatically recognizing that one. So it has checked it for us. And now we are just going to click on Save and New because we need to receive payment for the other location. So go ahead and click on the green Save and New button. And that location is taken care of. And we need to do the other location. So in the customer field, we're going to select the 55 Twin Lane. So in the customer here, click on the arrow and scroll down under Freeman. You want to click on the one that says 55 Twin Lane. Click on that and you will see 2 invoices appear. One has an open balance of $81 and then there's that partial payment one, that invoice 1005 with the open balance of $4. Let's fill out the rest of the form though. So the payment method is going to be, again, a check because that is how he paid. So click on the arrow, click on check. And again, that reference number is going to be the check number, which was 1008. We are again going to want to leave this deposit to in the undeposited funds for right now. And then in the grid, the outstanding transactions grid, we're going to make sure that we click on the checkbox next to each of the invoices listed, so that the total amount will be $85 because that's what is remaining on the check from the previous one, between the previous one that we just received payment for and then this, and then these two as well. So you can either click on each individual one or you could just click on the top since we're going to want to select both of those. And then there it is, $85. And then you could go ahead and click on Save and Close. And as you can see, the payment was received for those open invoices. So that's why it is showing that there is nothing else found. But now we need to make a bank deposit because he deposited that check from Freeman and then took some money out for himself. So let's look at the bank deposit transaction first. So the first thing we need to do is click on the plus new button and then select bank deposits. So up here again, that plus new button, click on that, and then under other, click on bank deposit. And QBO is thinking, and there it is. You will see here, these two are the ones that we just had. You know that because the reference number says 1008. This is why it's so important to have this when you are filling out transactions in that reference number box, putting the check number, because it makes it so much easier for you to decipher which one you need to be selecting. So for this deposit only, we only want to select those two transactions, the ones for check 1008, so that they can be easily matched up to the bank feed later. There's other checks that you saw in there that we'll have to ask Craig about when he's going to deposit those other ones that are currently sitting in undeposited funds. So let's just go ahead and click those two. And then we'll leave the other two remaining. Again, ask Craig about that later to see what's going on. You'll notice too that the bank deposit transaction gives you an option to indicate an account for cash back. You would want to do this if the total deposited was less than the total amount of the checks. This would happen if the deposit and the withdrawal were happening at the exact same time. So for example, if he did them at the same exact time, it would be the total deposit would be $162.50. It would be the check, which is that $562.50 minus the $400 withdrawal. We would want to do it that way so that the deposit would match the bank feed later, if that's what he did. But for the purposes of this exercise, we are going to assume that he made two separate transactions at the bank. First, he deposited the check, and then maybe as he was leaving, he decided to take some cash out of the lobby ATM. So we're going to have those two selected and then click on the Save and Close. Those two are selected. And if I scroll down before I hit Save and Close, this is what I was talking about, that cashback goes to, cashback amount. If he had done it at the exact same time, then we would do this to have the $400. But for right now, we are going to go ahead and click on the arrow here and then click on Save and Close. And that bank deposit has now been saved. So now let's work on the owner's draw. Craig's receipt from the bank deposit indicated that he withdrew $400 cash and noted it for personal use. Here it is right here, that check deposit, and then a cash withdrawal of $400. When an owner makes a withdrawal, it needs to be recorded so that the amount does not show up in the profit and loss statement for the company, because it's not an expense, but rather it just reduces the value of the company's assets because the money is the owner is taking money out of the company. So it's reflected on the balance sheet, but not the profit and loss. So we're going to see how to do this. And a quick note here that when we talk about an owner, we're talking about there's different business structures that companies can have. Owner's draw is used for sole proprietor, and I believe it's also for single member LLC. But if he had a partnership or had an incorporated business structure, then withdrawals would be reflected a little bit differently. So just keep that in mind if you're working with clients. Knowing what their business structure is very important because of the way things get recorded. So for step one, we need to see if there is an equity account that would track his withdrawals. We need to see if he's already set one up. So in order to do this, in the left nav bar, we're going to mouse over the transactions and then select chart of accounts. So over here, transactions, and then find the chart of accounts, click on that, and you will see this appear. Let's organize it a little bit more so that we can see all of the equity accounts. To do this, we're going to click on the arrow next to account type. So here, we're just going to click on that, and we see it's organized a little bit more for us. And we're going to scroll down now until we find equity accounts. So we're looking for equity in this account type. We're going to scroll down. There's expenses. Keep scrolling. Now we got income, and there are equity. There's one for retained earnings and then one for open balance equity. Now, the retained earnings is more about the historical profits of the company, and the opening balance equity stems from the initial amount or amounts that were given to the company by the owner or other sources. So, for the purposes of what we're looking for, the withdrawal, neither of these accounts are the one that we need. So, we need to create a new one. To do this, we are going to start off by clicking on the green New button at the top of the page. So let's scroll all the way back up. And there is that green New button. Click on that. And then this form is going to appear for us. So let's go ahead and fill it out. The circle we need is going to be labeled equity, since that's the type of account that we are looking for. So click on equity. We are going to save this account under, again, equity. So let's go ahead and click on that arrow and select equity. The tax form section is going to be owner's equity. And the purpose of this field is to map to software used by the accountant, meaning like matching up as they're using their own software. If you are not in communication with Craig's accountants, owner's equity is a good choice for right now, but they may suggest something different. It can be changed later, of course, at any point. So we're just going to go ahead and here, click into it and select owner's equity. And then the account name we said is going to be owner's draw. So let's type that in. Go ahead, click into that and then type in owner's draw. There we go. That's the account name. And then for our description, we're going to make it Craig's withdraws. You can use the descriptive name of your choice, something that will help you remember what the account is actually for. So in this case, it's about Craig taking money out of the company, so Craig's withdraws makes sense. So let's click into the description and then type Craig's withdraws. Oops, draws. There we go, spelled correctly. The starting date is going to be for today. So click on the arrow to expand this. Click on this arrow for select date and change it to today. And then we are going to put 0 in the account balance field. And that's because this appears to be the first time that Craig withdrew money. So we want to start the account as if it was today. If he had already taken money out of the company and we knew how much, but not the specific transactions, we could always record an open balance. But to our knowledge, this hasn't happened yet. So we're going to start with 0 and just move on. So go ahead and type 0 here. And then we are going to click on the green Save button. And now that has been created. If we scroll down just a little bit, we're going to look for our equity. I say all a little bit, but it's all the way at the bottom here. You can see that that equity account has been created for us. So now now that we've had that set up, we want to record Craig's withdrawal from the bank, and we can do this through a transfer transaction. So we're going to click on the plus new button and then select transfer. So the plus new button up here, and then under other, click on transfer. And this will appear. So now let's go ahead and fill this out. We are in the transfer funds from account or field, we're going to select checking since that's where it was pulled from. Click checking. The transfer funds to field is going to be owner's draw, aka Craig. So click into that and you will see owner's draw. Go ahead and click on that. You'll see here this balance is for the checking and this balance here is for the owner's draw, just so you know what those are for. And then in the transfer amount, we're going to type 400 because that's how much he took out. So go ahead and click into that, type 400, and you will see that that is captured. You would change the date to today or the day that Craig made that withdrawal. For the purposes of this exercise, we're just going to leave the date as is. And then we can go ahead and save and close this. So click on the arrow down here and then click on Save and Close. And now that transfer has been saved. So let's take a closer look at the account and see what happened. We're going to scroll down to the owner's account and see how that, what that did. You only need to scroll down a little bit. It's not all the way at the bottom this time. Here it is, and you will see that negative 400. And the reason it's negative 400 is because, again, he's not, it's not an expense. He is just reducing the overall value of the company's assets. So that's why it is showing as a negative. It's because of that withdrawal part of it. All right, so now let's handle the last two checks here. The first one we're going to look at is Bill's Windsurf Shop for $85. So first we need to click on the plus new button and then select receive payment. So click on the plus new button under customers, select receive payment right there. And you will see this form show up, not fill out. We need to now fill it out. In the customer field, go ahead and select Bill's Windsurf Shop. If you click into the arrow right here, click on Bill's Windsurf Shop there, and you will see the invoice that he had paid right there. If you click back into the checks and deposits, you'll see the mobile deposit for $85 right there. So that is the correct one that we want selected. Let's fill out the rest of it by clicking, selecting check in the payment method field. So here's the payment method field. Click into the arrow and then select check. This was check number 333. So we're going to put that in the reference number field. Again, it's super important to always have that. It's just easier for you to refer back to at any point. The deposit to field, we're going to put this as checking versus undeposited funds. And that's because this is a mobile deposit. Even when multiple mobile deposits are made at the same time, each check is going to appear individually in the bank feed. So since it's already directly in the checking account, we're going to put it directly there in the deposit to field. So go ahead and click on the arrow here and then select checking. And then the amount received is $85. You can see that here, that notation. So we're going to, in the amount received, change this to 85. If you tab over, you will see that this has been captured by QBO, and it automatically is checking the invoice here because it is matching the opening balance, or that open balance, excuse me, to the amount received. So we're going to go ahead and click on Save and New because we have one more check that we need to receive payment for. So click on the arrow here and then click on Save and New. And that the one for Bill's Windsurf Shop has now been saved. Let's move on to the last one. The final check is for $750 from John Melton. Again, Craig had also deposited John's check using his mobile app. So let's go ahead and fill out the form. In the customer field, we're going to select John Melton. So click in the arrow, and there's John. Select John's name. You would change the payment date to whatever date that he had, that Craig had made the deposit. We'll assume that it is today, so you can leave that as is. The payment method is going to again be check because that is what he received. So click on the arrow here, select check. The reference number is going to be the check number. So if we go back here, we will see that it's 00002 is the check number from John. So let's go ahead and put that in the reference number 00002. Again, we're going to leave this deposit to directly to the checking because he's already taken it to the checking. He's already deposited it through the mobile app. So we're going to leave it there rather than having it as undeposited funds. In the amount received, we're going to type $750. So let's go ahead and type that. And in the amount received, 750. If you tab over, you will see that it has captured that $750. And it has automatically selected the invoice for us. You will notice though that the check amount that Craig had deposited matches the original amount of the invoice. But if you notice, there is an open balance that is less than the amount of the check. John must have already made a payment toward the invoice that he just didn't realize. And so he has a credit of $300 that appears on his account because he paid too much. So let's take a look at that. Here is that original amount, that's 750. That's the invoice number, or the invoice amount, excuse me. And then this open balance was 450. That's how much he still owed, but he must have forgotten about it. So he paid 750 and now he has a credit of $300. You can see that here. Listed here. As soon as if I deleted this, if I put 0 and tab it over, it disappears. But as soon as I put that 750, QBO is automatically recognizing that the amount that was received is much more than the open balance. So it's making this little notation here that there is an additional credit on his account. Which we will be handling that credit in the next exercise. So for now, we are just going to go ahead and save and close. So click on the arrow and then click on save and close. And now that payment has received, and that's how you do payments, deposits, and owner's draw. And if you have any questions or want to know more about the QBO Gym, just go ahead and click on the link below in the description. Be sure to leave this session of the sample company open as you will need it for the next exercise in this section where we talk about handling a customer refund. And I will see you in the next video.